Bimpe had always carried a secret, one that few knew, and none outside her family and closest friend Tomiwa had ever discovered. As a child, she had been in a terrible accident that left her with a leaking bladder, a condition that forced her to wear pampers even into her teenage years. It was something that made her deeply self-conscious, something she had only ever trusted Tomiwa to know, and now that trust had been shattered in the most public and humiliating way. The betrayal cut deeper than the words could describe. Bimpe could still hear the mocking giggles and whispers of her classmates, their judgmental eyes on her after Tomiwa had exposed her secret for everyone to see. It wasn't just about the secret itself, but the betrayal of someone she had once called her best friend. In the days that followed, Bimpe withdrew from everyone. She had always been quiet and focused, but now she became even more isolated. The pain of Tomiwa's betrayal sat heavy in her chest, and for a while she didn't know how to move forward. But slowly, something changed inside her. The hurt began to fuel her determination. Bimpe made a vow to herself. She would no longer allow Tomiwa or anyone else to define her. She would rise above the humiliation, the bullying, and the whispers. She wouldn't let the actions of a bitter, jealous friend tear her down. Instead, she would focus on what mattered most: her scholarship, her studies, and her dreams. As the weeks turned into months, Bimpe drew herself into her academics with renewed vigor. Her grades, already excellent, soared even higher. She spent her evenings in the library, studying harder than before. Time flew by, and soon the girls were in their final year of high school. It was the year that would determine everything, the culmination of all their hard work, hopes, and dreams. But what had once been an unbreakable friendship between Bimpe and Tomiwa was now a distant, bitter rivalry. They were strangers, each walking their own path, with Tomiwa's every attempt to outshine Bimpe ending in failure. Bimpe, despite the loneliness she often felt, had built a reputation as the school's shining star. Her academic excellence, leadership, and quiet grace made her the pride of St. Mary's. Teachers and students alike admired her, and her future seemed brighter than ever. She had become the school's gem, a symbol of perseverance and brilliance. But as Bimpe's star rose higher, Tomiwa's envy only deepened. She had tried everything: distance, rumors, betrayal, but nothing had been enough to bring Bimpe down. The more Bimpe excelled, the more Tomiwa felt the weight of her parents' expectations and the sting of being second best. And now, in their final year, Tomiwa's frustration boiled over. She was determined to take the final step, one that would erase Bimpe's success for good. The school was abuzz with preparation for the upcoming final year exam. It was the most crucial time for the students, the exams that would define their futures. Late one night, when the school was quiet and most students were in their dorms, Tomiwa snuck into the exam office, her heart pounding in her chest as she slipped inside and found the stack of exam papers, the key to the future for every student. With trembling hands, she stole several of the papers, her mind set on her plan. She knew what she had to do. The next day, with careful precision, Tomiwa planted the stolen exam papers inside Bimpe's locker. She made sure no one was watching, her mind racing with mixture of fear and satisfaction. This was it. This would finally ruin Bimpe. It didn't take long for the school to descend into chaos. Rumors spread quickly that exam papers had been stolen, and the administration launched a full-scale search. The tension in the air was palpable as students whispered among themselves, wondering who could have committed such a terrible act. When the search finally led to Bimpe's locker, the entire school held its breath. As the teachers opened the locker, the stolen exam papers tumbled out. The shock was immediate. Gasps filled the air as students and teachers alike stared in disbelief. Bimpe, the brightest student in the school, caught the stolen exam papers. Bimpe's heart sank. She stood frozen, unable to comprehend what was happening. Her mind raced. This couldn't be real. She hadn't done anything wrong. How had the papers ended up in her locker? No, no, this isn't right, Bimpe stammered, tears welling up in her eyes. I didn't do this. I swear I didn't. But her pleas fell on deaf ears. The teachers, shocked and disappointed, couldn't believe what they were seeing. The students, once her admirers, now whispered and pointed, their disbelief quickly turning to judgment. Bimpe was taken to the principal's office, her heart breaking with every step. She had worked so hard, done everything right, and now this. She knew this was Tomiwa's doing. She had to know, but how could she prove it? No one would believe her now. Her parents were called to the school, their faces pale with shock and confusion. As they sat in the principal's office, listening to the accusations, Bimpe pleaded with them, tears streaming down her face. Mom, Dad, I didn't do this, she sobbed. You know me, I would never cheat. Please believe me. Her parents, though heartbroken, stood by her, but it wasn't enough. The school's reputation was on the line, and the rules were clear. Such a grievous offense meant immediate expulsion. The day Bimpe was expelled from St. Mary's was one of the darkest days in the school's history. Teachers and students, even the principal, looked on in disbelief as Bimpe, the once celebrated student, walked out of the gate for the last time. Her head hung low, her tears falling silently onto the ground. Tomiwa watched from a distance, her heart a swelling mist of triumph and guilt. She had done it. Bimpe was finally gone. But even as she watched Bimpe leave, a part of her knew she had crossed the line she could never come back from. Tomiwa had thought that getting rid of Bimpe would finally give her peace, but the guilt that followed was unbearable. Each day after Bimpe's expulsion, she found it harder to focus on anything. The thrill of watching Bimpe's downfall had quickly been replaced by a gnawing sense of shame. She couldn't sleep, couldn't concentrate in class, and every time she saw her classmates whispering, she wondered if they knew what she had done. The final exams had started, and with each passing test, Tomiwa's guilt grew heavier. It was during the second to the last exam that she couldn't take it anymore. Her hands trembled as she scribbled on her paper, her mind far from the questions in front of her. She felt as if the weight of her sin was suffocating her, and no amount of pretense could lift the burden. During a break, Tomiwa ran to the principal's office, her heart pounding in her chest. She knocked on the door, and when the principal called her in, she fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry, she sobbed. I'm so sorry. I was the one who planted the exam papers in Bimpe's locker. She's innocent. It was all me. The principal stood from her chair, her face flushed with a mist of fury and disbelief. What did you just say? She asked, her voice cold and measured. Tomiwa repeated her confession, her voice trembling with fear and regret. The principal's eyes darkened with anger as she listened. "What an evil heart," the principal said, her voice rising. "Do you know the damages you have caused? How could you be so cruel, so heartless?" Tomiwa couldn't speak. She only knelt there, crying as the reality of what she had done washed over her again. The principal's anger was palpable as she continued to lash out. "How do we fix this damage? How do we undo the harm you have caused? A bright student was expelled because of your jealousy, her reputation tarnished, her future put at risk. Do you even understand what you have done?" Tomiwa could only cry harder, unable to answer. She felt like the lowest person on earth. The principal wasted no time in summoning Tomiwa's parents. When Mr. and Mrs. Obu arrived, their faces were tight with confusion and worry. The principal, her voice sharp with contempt, explained Tomiwa's confession. As the truth came out, Mr. Obu slumped in his chair, covering his head with his hands, while Mrs. Obu glared at her daughter with fiery eyes. "I cannot believe this," Mr. Obu muttered under his breath, shame washing over him. "What have we done wrong?" Mrs. Obu, however, was furious. "We told you to be ahead of her, to work harder," she scolded Tomiwa, "not to sabotage her like some common criminal. You are a disgrace, Tomiwa, a disgrace." Tomiwa could barely meet her mother's eyes. The shame was too much. Her parents' disappointment stung, but the guilt she felt for what she had done to Bimpe was even worse. The principal looked at the family with disgust. Her lips pursed tightly. "This is beyond disappointing," she said, shaking her head. "We expect better from all our students, especially those who came from such privileged homes. You have shown no honor, no integrity, Tomiwa." After a pause, the principal sent a message to Bimpe's family, explaining that they needed to come to the school immediately. When Mr. and Mrs. Okoro arrived, they were calm, their faces a mixture of sadness and quiet dignity. The principal, still brimming with anger, explained the situation, revealing that Tomiwa had framed their daughter. As the news broke, Bimpe's parents remained composed. Mr. Okoro simply nodded and Mrs. Okoro sighed deeply. "We have always knew our daughter was innocent," she said softly. "It was only a matter of time before the truth came out." The principal, filled with regret, apologized profusely to Bimpe's family. "We are truly sorry for what has happened. This was an injustice and we take full responsibility. We would like Bimpe to write her final exams from the comfort of her home. She should not return to school under such circumstances." Mr. Okoro nodded in agreement, while Mrs. Okoro quietly expressed their gratitude for the principal's efforts to make things right. Meanwhile, Tomiwa stood in the corner, her heart breaking as she realized the full extent of her actions. Her jealousy had destroyed their friendship and nearly ruined Bimpe's future, and now she had to face the consequences. "As for you, Tomiwa," the principal said, her voice cold, "you will complete the remaining exams, but you will not graduate with the rest of the students. There will be no honors, no awards. You will leave the school in disgrace. Consider yourself fortunate that we are allowing you to finish at all." Tomiwa's heart sank further. The punishment was severe, but it felt justified. She had betrayed everything: her friendship, her school, her own integrity. As her parents looked at her with disappointment etched in their faces, she realized that this was a moment she would never forget. The weight of her actions would haunt her forever. And as Bingbe's family left the school, the quiet, dignified girl who had been so wronged was already starting the next chapter of her life, a chapter that Tomiwa would never be part of again. Life is a journey filled with lessons, just like the one we have shared today. If this story touched your heart or made you think, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel. Join us for more inspiring tales and let's continue to grow and learn together. Stay tuned, stay inspired, and remember, every story has a lesson. See you next time. Bye.